The Dream Machine's DM1 FPS edition is a medium to large sized ambidextrous gaming mouse with side buttons on the left only, i.e. it's designed for right-handed users. It's reminiscent of the XAI and Sensei from times gone, and if I was to move away from my ergonomically right-handed mouse, I can already tell you this would be my go-to, and in fact, in some ways this is arguably an ergonomically shaped ambidextrous mouse, I think. The DM1 FPS comes in at 126mm in length, 39mm in height, and 68mm in width, although that's closer to 58 at the grip position. But with that in mind, side buttons are well placed to allow you to easily roll your thumb to activate, which is certainly appreciated. Now, I'm typically a palm grip player, but thanks to the back slope not being overly aggressive toward its highest point, I do still get a good amount of vertical control over the mouse without it being a hindrance. The things I'd probably change are more related to an ergonomic shape, i.e. whilst the flare out toward the back is ideal on the left where my thumb rests, I'd probably lessen it on the right. But it's still something I quickly adjusted to, and overall not a big deal. Now, despite the buttons being part of the top shell, it will suit both claw and fingertip users as well, as the force required to activate those primary buttons is consistent, or at least up until the DPI toggle, where it will then ramp up. I use this Huano switches rated for 20 million clicks, and they're certainly some of my favourite yet, in that they're not too light nor too heavy. And here's a listen. The mouse weighs in at roughly 83 grams and it's very well balanced when lifted, plus the new shoelace cable is certainly impressive as well. It's not only extremely manoeuvrable, but it feels weightless when both swiping the mouse left to right or coming to a stop, so I'd say their claim of being invisible is pretty damn close to being accurate in that respect. Now, despite its lower weight, I can't make the mouse creak when squeezing, and thank God those side buttons don't activate on accident when aggressively tracking with lightning gun like I've had on other lightweight mice. It's very well built and something I didn't expect at all from such a small company. Inside, you'll find the Pixart 3389 optical sensor, which I'm definitely a fan of from my time using the Death Adder Elite. It features DPI of up to 16,000 with a ridiculously fast max tracking speed of up to 7 meters per second, zero acceleration, and no discernible smoothing at those lower values, all of which we'll get into later. But taking a look at the optional software, you can further customize that DPI from its 6 preset values with up to 6 steps, and thankfully you can reduce this number to 3 as well, as to avoid scrolling through any unnecessary steps. DPIs in increments of 200, and as always I've gone with 400, 800 and 1600. You can then save these along with pretty much everything else found in the software to the onboard memory, which is perfect for travelling and competing at esports events. You're also able to remap 6 buttons, create macros, and change the polling rate of which it defaults to 1000 Hz, i.e. 1 millisecond. There's also RGB lighting on the left and right of the mouse wheel, but it's really not that bright, and honestly, who really cares? This mouse looks absolutely gorgeous with or without it anyway, and it's also available in a bunch of colours that feature a glossy top shell instead, this being the all matte Blizzard White version, which looks great. So for our first test with the DM1 FPS, we're confirming a lack of mouse acceleration inherent to the implementation of the sensor. Acceleration can be good, but only when it's able to be controlled by the user in-game, and not when it's unremovable, as there's certainly many players out there that would rather avoid it, myself included. As you can see though, moving it slow and then fast from one end of the large DM pad to the other puts us roughly in the same place, taking into account of course some small amount of human error, but therefore indicating a perfect implementation of the sensor and its firmware. It's also impossible to make malfunction thanks to that crazy fast max tracking speed, so you're not going to look at the floor or ceiling on accident when swiping for that 180 rail, or worse, quad rocket yourself like I did back in the Quake Live Nation skirt, thanks to a sensor malfunction. Moving into a look at button latency using my scientifically inaccurate but still relevant to an extent bump test, it's on par with my MM531, which additionally went toe to toe with the Logitech G Pro. It's another great implementation here that will no doubt help you hold angles in Counter-Strike with confidence. That and the buttons aren't too light either, so you won't have to consciously hover over the mouse one button in order to prevent accidentally actuating it and a premature up shot, potentially giving away that position too soon. This leads us nicely into our button debounce test, where we can see there are no issues with executing mini jumps in Shoot Mania, and otherwise too high of a debounce time would make our smallest jump instead a medium-sized jump. And this is because the button wouldn't have been released quick enough before the second was activated. This also means there are no issues with full height rocket jumps in Quake, because both mouse 1 and mouse 2 can be pushed down simultaneously without delay, i.e. you're not going to be jumping before you shoot or shooting before you jump. Liftoff distance is as advertised, around 1.8mm, which is certainly about accurate as it doesn't even track at 1 DVD. You are unable to change this in software, but honestly it's a non-issue. It's not too low that it cause any tracking issues, and nor is it too high that it will cause a variance in DPI when swiping the mouse slightly above the pad. In other words, it's exactly where it needs to be and you'll have no issues with it. So, final thoughts with the DM1 FPS. Well, honestly, it's 2018 and pretty much every manufacturer has a good mouse at this point, and we can thank the PMW 3366 and 3360 for that. Is this mouse for you? Well, that really depends on if the shoe fits. In this case, the DM1 FPS has arguably my favourite ambidextrous shell on the market to date, with probably the best sensor available today in the PixArt 3389. It's not only comfortable for me, but extremely lightweight, and I had absolutely no issues with tracking enemy model directional changes in Quake, holding angles in Counter-Strike, or, well, essentially doing anything with the mouse. It's really the perfect weapon at an affordable price, and I'm actually very tempted to stick with it myself, which is the first time I've said that about an ambidextrous mouse in what feels like forever. As I mentioned with the Cooler Master MM530 and 531, you really can't spend more money and find a better mouse elsewhere. Only can you potentially find a better shape that might suit you. So if you're in the market for an ambidextrous mouse, then because it is a relatively safe shape, you should probably try it. If not, consider it at least. If I don't use it, I'll probably put the cable on my ergonomic MM531, or Dream Machines could just refine that OEM shell, and oh my god, I might be in love. But I'm off to Gamescom with Discord for the week, so I guess I'll sit on it until I'm back. A quick mention of the large DM pad before I close off though, that one's already my new main, no question. The only criticism I do have is that I'd like for it to be slightly thicker, because gaming on some tables, such as those found in the DreamHack BYOC in Sweden, require a larger base to deal with any surface inconsistencies. That, or I'd purchase a hard pad to place underneath. But for home use it stays in place, is more than comfortable enough, and definitely offers a faster surface with more texture than the QCK, whilst not being as harsh on the wrist as something like the Goliath's Control. I also don't happen to randomly start sweating whilst using it, like on my Gigantus, which I still think is weird. At literally 6 Great British pounds though, or about €10, you really ought to do yourself a favour, and if you pick up this mouse, just get one in the basket anyway. It's just really surprised me and then some, which seems to be the underlying tone of this video. But anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, then let me know down below and I'll get back to you. But for now, take care, keep gaming, and I'll see you in the next video.